Shalom, my friends, this is Max Joseph, and I'm here because although it is still not the 10th of the month, I decided to make another top 10 video because, well, I'm at home social distancing, no movies are coming out, and the world is still kind of a mess. So, my friends, it is time for the top 10s. Today's top 10 will be my top 10 Disney soundtracks. And to clarify that, it's just the animated movies, so that does not include the live action, and it also does not include Pixar. So you're not going to see anything like Toy Story or Enchanted on this top 10 video. That'll be on another video. But before I go into my top 10, write your picks for the top 10 Disney soundtracks, and make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and ding that little bell to get notified whenever I post new videos. And so, here are my top 10 Disney soundtracks. Number 10, a Goofy movie. I really struggled with what number 10 was because there were about like 5 others that could have been in here, but I chose a Goofy movie for many reasons. One of which is that compared to some of its competitors, Goofy movie just has more songs that are better than the others, which some of the others just have 1 or 2 really amazing standouts, which I'll get to in the honorable mentions, but this just has a more well-rounded soundtrack. In a Goofy movie, the opening song, After Today, is the perfect introduction for our character, Max. It sets up his life at school and the general environment he's faced with, and more importantly, the relationship with his dad, Goofy, which is really what the movie comes down to. A movie about a father and his son. I have a feeling you're beginning to see why I love this movie so much. So in one song, we already know everything this movie will be about, we see the relationships, and there's no question on why things are happening. It's a great setup. Then we get Stand Out, where we get our first taste of Tevin Campbell and his ridiculous vocals. And the song also furthers the plot when we see Max trying to impress his classmate Roxanne, but ends up humiliating himself. We have a fun road trip song, On the Open Road, which, by the way, my fiance Sam knows all the words too. A ridiculous country song, which is called Lester's Possum Park, which gets stuck in my head after every watch. We get a beautiful and very underrated duet between Goofy and Max and Nobody Else But You, which opens up my floodgates. But then we get one of my personal favorite songs written for a Disney movie, and perhaps one of the most underrated, Eye to Eye. Besides just being a stupidly brilliant song, the entire movie just leads up to this moment. Max and Goofy didn't have the best relationship one could hope for in a father and a son, but by the time they get to this song, they figure out how to love each other, and the lyrics work perfectly with it. If we listen to each other's heart, we'll find we're never too far apart, and maybe love is a reason why. For the first time ever, we're seeing it eye to eye. It is a perfect song. It is a perfect moment in the movie. Every song in this movie is wonderful. Every song is needed and furthers the plot. It's so good and so underrated. Number 9, Frozen 2. You heard that right. Frozen 2 is on this list, not the first one. Are the songs in Frozen 2 as catchy as the original? Probably not. And don't get me wrong, I adore the first one, but I think that musically and story-wise, Frozen 2 has the better soundtrack. And I'm going to explain exactly why it's better by, like, a lot. And it starts with the first song in the movie, the lullaby that Elsa and Anna's mother sings to them, All Is Found. Besides having really beautiful lyrics and a soothing melody, the reason I even mention a song that I think many people skip over on the soundtrack is because the melody and words are sprinkled throughout the entire movie. It's a theme that they keep going back to, and a really smart choice. Some Things Never Change is adorable and is more of the cute Disney introduction, and it does exactly what it was supposed to do: show us our favorite characters and just remind the audience, here are your friends that you love, nothing's gonna change. Kind of reminds me of For the First Time in Forever, but better. Also, we get a small snippet of Jonathan Groff singing, so that's always nice. Then we have the Let It Go song, Oscar-nominated Into the Unknown, and Idina Menzel absolutely crushed this. And if I'm being honest, I like Into the Unknown more. Am I off book for both songs? Absolutely. Both are amazing, but I just prefer Into the Unknown. Next, we have When I Am Older, which is basically Olaf's song in the first one in summer. And this is the only one I prefer in the original Frozen. But both tell the message of something that we all know not to be true. Kinda, LOL, you don't know what you're talking about. I can't wait till you're actually older and all of the things you're talking about still won't make sense. You still won't necessarily know all the answers. And joke's on you, you don't know that snow melts in the sun. Both are kind of the same song and message, but I do prefer In Summer more. Now, probably the most controversial song in the movie is Lost in the Woods. And I guess if you have to compare it to another song, you'd compare it to Fixer Upper, but that's not really a good comparison. But if you do compare it, I like Lost in the Woods much more. I've spoken to many people that said it was the best part of the movie. I've also talked to people who said this made them hate the movie. And I hear both sides. For me, it really worked. Maybe it's because of how out of place it was, or because Jonathan Groff could sing the dictionary and I'd listen to it, or maybe it's because the backup reindeer singers, I don't know. But I was into it. Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez did something really bold by writing a ridiculous, out-of-place 80s rock ballad, and it paid off big time for me. Skipping Show Yourself for 1 second. Then we have Anna's big song, The Next Right Thing, which Kristen Bell performed the shit out of. The sadness in her voice is palpable, it's empowering and uplifting, and gives a nice moment for her that we haven't really seen yet. I feel like this is something new for her because she didn't get a big 11 o'clock number like Elsa did in the original, so I love that she had this. Also, gave her an awesome character arc in the span of a single song. She started at devastation and defeat to I'm about to save everyone and everything. Okay, my friends, Show Yourself is one of my favorite songs written for a movie. There is not a single flaw in this song in this moment of the movie. This is the song that should have not only been nominated over Into the Unknown, which I loved, but should have swept this last award season. It is one of the most emotional moments I've ever experienced in a Disney film, and it is literally because of this song. The intro is beautiful with just Elsa singing, then enter a little chime, then it starts to build a little bit with more instruments, then it gets to the chorus. Show yourself. I'm dying to meet you. Show yourself. It's your turn. Are you the one I've been looking for all of my life? Show yourself. I'm ready to learn. Eventually we learn she's the one she's been looking for. And that's when Max Joseph does his big cry, and it's perfect. I'm not going to get too much more into detail on this specific song because it may make an appearance on my top 10 songs written for movies of all time. All this being said, the first Frozen may have the more memorable songs, but Frozen 2 has the better songs. Number 8, Aladdin. Aladdin is a pretty much perfect movie for many reasons. The first and most important is that it features perhaps the greatest voiceover performance of all time, which is Robin Williams, who voiced the genie. The second reason, the songs. Arabian Nights sets up the story brilliantly and sung stupid well by Bruce Adler, by the way. Next we have Legend of the Lamp, which may not exactly be sung, but it deserves a shout out because Robin Williams is hilarious on it. After that, we are introduced to Aladdin with One Jump sung by Brad Kane. Super fun, super exciting, and gets us into Aladdin's mind and the world. We have Friend Like Me and Prince Ali, which, in my book, two of the greatest displays of voiceover on the planet, bar none. And last, the song that everyone knows and loves, A Whole New World. And I did just do a rewatch to see if it still holds up, and damn, it really does. It's impossible to not get chills. Brad Kane and Lea Salonga are magnificent. The key change before Unbelievable Sights is so good and so smart and helps move the story, and it's not just there for the vocalists to show off. The harmonies, the emotion, it really is so good and so Disney. This whole soundtrack is top-notch. Absolutely in the top 10. Number 7, Mulan. These songs are so good. And there are two crazy things about this soundtrack that I've been thinking about. First, these songs aren't by Alan Menken, which isn't a dig at Alan Menken. It just shows that there are other brilliant artists out there. Some of the best songs in Disney's history are written by Matthew Wilder and David Zippel, who does work with Menken, to be fair, and features the voices of Lea Salonga, Donny Osmond, Beth Fowler, Harvey Fierstein, and in the last song, Stevie Wonder and 98 Degrees. I'm not going to include Christina Aguilera's iconic version of Reflection because it wasn't in the movie itself, but shout out to her because it's really good. Second, there are only 5 songs. That's it. Watch it. You have Honor to Us All, Reflection, I'll Make a Man Out of You, A Girl Worth Fighting For, and True to Your Heart. That's it. It's actually a really small track list. But the reason it is in this top 10 is because pretty much every single song is so good. Honor to Us All is a wonderful introduction to the movie and to China. It helps us learn about Mulan, the traditions that she must honor, and really helps the audience get acquainted. Reflection, top to bottom, it's just a masterpiece. Animation, story-wise, lyrically, vocally, it is a perfect song. I could talk about it for hours, but I won't, because I don't need to, but it's perfect. I'll Make a Man Out of You is the pump-up song that everyone loves and just gets stuck in your head. It's also really uplifting. At first, these soldiers aren't a team and Mulan is a mess, but by the end, Mulan turns out to be the best among everyone, and they work together and learn to trust one another. Also, Donny Osmond sings the holy shit out of this song. That ending... A Girl Worth Fighting For is the fun song that gives us the biggest laugh and helps us transition to the real meat of the movie. Then True to Your Heart is the cute song at the end where they spell out the message of the movie, and it's great. It's a fun party. Each song has a purpose, each song is memorable, and I love it. Number 6, Beauty and the Beast. Alan Menken is really just one of the greatest songwriters, isn't he? The soundtrack includes Belle, Gaston, Be Our Guest, Something There, the Mob Song, and Beauty and the Beast. The 3 highlights for me on the soundtrack are Belle, Be Our Guest, and Beauty and the Beast. Belle is amazing because it's when we meet my soon-to-be sister-in-law's favorite Disney character, Belle, as she goes into town, and Paige O'Hara is genuinely perfect in every way. I love that we learn about the town Belle lives in and what people think of her. People think she's strange, but we also learn that she has a really big special place in some of the characters' hearts. Skip forward, Be Our Guest is probably my favorite of all the songs, done beautifully and hilariously by Jerry Orbach. Rest in peace. Besides his hilarious voiceover work, the animation and vibrant colors are so special and memorable, but the best part of the song are the lyrics. They are so frickin' clever. Too long we've been rusting, needing so much more than dusting, needing exercise, a chance to use our skills. Most days we lay around the castle. Flabby, fat, and lazy, you walked in and oopsie daisy. So brilliant. Then of course we have our title song, Beauty and the Beast, famously sung by the legend that is Angela Lansbury. And besides being so iconic for so many reasons, Angela Lansbury should have an Oscar for voiceover for her performance as Mrs. Potts. It's so good. Beauty and the Beast is amazing for so many reasons, and it was also the first animated movie to ever be nominated for Best Picture. It is so wonderful and will always be considered as historic and a treasure for many people, including myself. Number 5, The Lion King. Everyone, please welcome Academy Award winner Elton John. The Lion King has perhaps the most iconic intro in the history of cinema with The Circle of Life. They start with the sun and a big old vocal at the top, and it's a cappella for like the first 20 seconds or so, and it's in Zulu. What the f***? It's so good, and it gives you all of the goosebumps. Then we move on to I Just Can't Wait to Be King, which is amazing, playful, does a great job of really showing us who Simba is, his playfulness, and his relationship with Nala. Be Prepared is terrifying, and Jeremy Irons could not be more perfect. Also, a shout out to the animation in this song. It's so good. Hakuna Matata is where they give us our moment after Mufasa's death to finally take a breath and laugh a bit, and that's a big thank you to Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella, and once Simba grows up, Matthew Broderick. Also, I love the meaning of Hakuna Matata, which in the movie is translated to no worries. Basically, there are things that may happen in your life that are just out of your control, so try and not worry about it. I love that. It's a great lesson for kids and a great reminder for adults. And a very catchy tune. Then we have my favorite song in the movie, the Academy Award-winning Can You Feel the Love Tonight, which is perhaps regarded as one of the most recognizable songs in history? Find me a person who doesn't know this song. I'd love to speak to them. This song has emotion, it has beautiful animation, it has Elton John singing. What else do you need? There is not a single weak link in this lineup if you ask me. Every single song is important and is integral to the story. Number 4, The Hunchback of Notre Dom. Perhaps the most underrated Disney movie of all time also happens to feature one of the best Disney soundtracks. Standout songs include the opening, The Bells of Notre Dame, which if you skip ahead to 6 minutes and 5 seconds in, you'll hear Paul Candle singing a high D, and it is actually aggravating how brilliant that is. I've listened to that last 30 seconds over 50 times over the last 24 hours. Next, you have a song that is in the argument for top 10 best Disney songs of all time out there, performed by Tom Hulce, and this is where the term masterful enters the conversation. Just listen to some of these lyrics. Out there among the millers and the weavers and their wives, through the roofs and gables I can see them. Every day they shout and scold and go about their lives, heedless of the gift it is to be them. If I was in their skin, I'd treasure every instant. Out there, strolling by the Seine, taste a morning out there, like ordinary men who freely walk about there. Just one day, and then I swear I'll be content with my share. Won't resent, won't despair, old and bent, I won't care. I'll have spent one day out there. That is poetry to me. It flows and it is inspiring. This could be argued as the best song Alan Menken has ever written. Then you have God Help the Outcasts, beautifully performed by Heidi Mollenhauer, and again, so underrated. Then you have another underrated song in Heaven's Light / Hellfire. The list goes on. If someone said to me that Hunchback of Notre Dom is the best Disney soundtrack of all time, I wouldn't be able to argue that. If someone said it was the greatest soundtrack of all time, I wouldn't be able to argue that. Hunchback is argued as Menken's greatest soundtrack. It is perfect. Number 3, Moana. Speaking of perfect, Moana is a perfect movie, and so is this soundtrack. With songs by Emmy, Grammy, and Tony winner Lin-Manuel Miranda, this features maybe the most amount of songs that I love, which include Where You Are, We Know the Way, You're Welcome, Shiny, and of course, How Far I'll Go, which could be in the best songs of the decade and should have also won the Oscar. The opening song is called Tulo Tagalo, and it is so frickin' beautiful. Then we have a song called An Ancient Warrior, where we are introduced to little baby adorable Moana, and we see that she has some sort of connection to the ocean. The music legit sounds like water. I don't know how to explain it, but the best comparison I have is like that underwater level on Mario 64. The music, it just feels like I'm swimming. Ancient Warrior, it does that. And yes, I do know the words to this song, and no, I don't know what I'm saying. Then the first big Disney song of the movie is Where You Are, which is the introduction song. We meet our characters, sung by Christopher Jackson and Nicole Scherzinger. It's fun, so different from any other Disney movie, and a style of music we aren't accustomed to. Then we have How Far I'll Go, which, again, should have given Lin-Manuel Miranda his EGOT status. And Auli'i Cravalho is beautiful as my favorite Disney princess, and her voice is ridiculous. And I love that Moana steers away from the typical Disney princess story and is instead about a strong young woman fighting for her people. And we get all of that from the beginning. The How Far I'll Go reprise is incredible, and it's not just there because, it's there because it's an important decision for Moana, and it's an important decision for her mother to help her daughter cross the ocean. Then we get to You're Welcome with WWE superstar Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who does the best work of his film career. He is so good as Maui. You're Welcome is catchy, it shows us exactly who Maui is, what he really cares about, and it sets up the relationship that he'll have with Moana for the rest of the movie. Yes, it's a crowd pleaser, but it's also very well crafted. Then we get Shiny, which again, Lin knocked it out of the park, and is the one that gets stuck in your head the most. After that, we get the big emotional moment of the movie where Max has his good cry. I am Moana. We see Moana's grandma Tala, who passed right before How Far I'll Go reprise earlier in the film. She visits her and helps Moana remind who she is, but doesn't tell it to her this is who you are. Moana tells herself just who the she is. I've delivered us to where we are. I have journeyed farther. I am everything I've learned and more. Still it calls me. And the call isn't out there at all. It's inside me. It's like the tide, always falling and rising. I will carry you here in my heart. You'll remind me that come what may, I know the way. I am Moana. Whew, so good. Song after song, this will stand the test of time as one of the best Disney soundtracks of all time. Number 2, Hercules. There was a day in the not so distant past where Sam and I legit watched this movie about 7 times in a row. And that is because of how amazing this music is. I think as a whole, this is Alan Menken's best overall soundtrack. Has he written better songs in other movies? Probably, but I will say that he also has one song in here that is up there. Hercules is also the soundtrack that is probably the most fun in Disney's canon. The gospel style that Menken and David Zippel created is so fun. It is legit full gospel choir at the beginning during the gospel truth, and the animation that goes along with it is so good, with all the vases telling the story, with the muses all around singing their frickin' faces off. It's so clever, and it's a great way to get the audience hooked. But the song that really makes the movie is Go the Distance, which is one of the most beautiful songs I've heard in my life. It has a great story for Hercules, as he starts off as just a nobody trying to find his place. He's always been called a freak for being different. He feels like he doesn't belong, but after he finds out who he really is, he knows he has to go the distance. I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a hero's welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds would cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, "This is where I'm meant to be. I'll be there someday. I can go the distance. I will find my way if I can be strong. I know every mile would be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong." It's so yummy. Also, Roger Bart sounds bloody brilliant as Hercules. What a gorgeous performance from him. But then we also have Danny DeVito. He's so funny as Phil, Herc's trainer, and his song One Last Hope is a blast, and I can only imagine how fun DeVito had recording this. Then back to what we all want, the gospel, and we are gifted Zero to Hero, and just a couple songs later, A Star is Born. Both further the plot, both have stupid vocals from our muses. It's so good. There's also, I'd say, the most underrated song in the movie, I Won't Say I'm in Love, which is Meg's song, voiced by Susan Egan. I never understood why this song wasn't more talked about, but I think it's just because every other song is more catchy, especially the gospel ones. But this one is really, really wonderful. All in all, I have not met a single person who didn't love the music to Hercules. I know people who didn't love the movie, but they did acknowledge the music being amazing. Because it is. Honorable mentions. Now y'all might be thinking, where's Little Mermaid? Pocahontas? Tangled? Well, the reason I didn't put them in is because I think that although they have some of the best individual songs, I think the ones I have listed have the best soundtrack. But those make the honorable mentions, as well as The Princess and the Frog, Peter Pan, and The Jungle Book. Number 1, Tarzan. There is simply no comparison. Tarzan is without a doubt the greatest Disney soundtrack of all time, and I think is in the conversation for the greatest movie soundtrack of all time. Songs by Phil Collins, this was never even a question for me. It has the best melodies, the most heart, and by far the best lyrics. If you had to ask me to pick a favorite off the following list, I'd just laugh, run away awkwardly, because I wouldn't know what to pick. Two Worlds, perfection. Sets up the movie and is also really brutal. But it says what this movie will be about. Two worlds, one family. Humans, apes. A new life is waiting, but danger's no stranger here, foreshadowing the explorers, hunters, as well as more from the leopard saber. No words to describe a mother's tears. No words can heal a broken heart. A dream is gone, but where there's hope. Just stop it, Phil. Just stop. It's so good. You'll Be in My Heart, featuring Glenn Close, perfection. Also shows the love that Tarzan has with his mother, and goes back to that lyric in Two Worlds I just mentioned. This is also the song that makes me cry very easily. Shocker. I know. I am also a huge fan of how it transitions from Glenn Close singing into Phil Collins singing. It's not distracting, it's just amazing. Son of Man? Perfection. You know those inspirational posters people have, like, "You can do it," with a little golden retriever puppy? Above my desk, if I had one, it would say the lyrics to Son of Man. And all the things you dreamed of, the visions that you saw, well, the time is drawing near now. It's yours to claim it all. The song is a jam, and it makes me just do this face. Trash in the Camp, featuring Rosie O'Donnell, perfection. The underrated song that is a blast, that I think is kind of for kids, but also for Max Joseph, because it's so much fun. Also encourages to find what's around us and make the best of it. Like, this t-shirt could be used as an instrument. Nice little bass drum right there. Strangers Like Me, perfection. Montage song with stunning lyrics that shows the progression of Tarzan as well as his relationship with Jane. Again, the lyrics. Come with me now to see my world where there's beauty beyond your dreams. Can you feel the things I feel right now with you? Take my hand. There's a world I need to know. Again, poetry. Last, Two Worlds reprise, Perfection, the song that caps the movie off with a throwback to the beginning of the movie. Each song is different, each song is placed perfectly into the movie, each song tells the story. I think this soundtrack is also the one that I'm most able to listen to on repeat, and the only soundtrack where I never skip a single song. That doesn't make it the best necessarily, but it helps. Without question, Tarzan is the best Disney soundtrack of all time. Those are my top 10 Disney soundtracks. Agree? Disagree? Let me know what your top 10 are in the comments. And so my friends, thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like this video, give me your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to this channel, as well as follow me on Twitter and Instagram at mjoseph492. Like my page on Facebook, which is facebook.com/MaxJosephFilmPerson. And if you really love me, please consider being a patron on Patreon, where you can get patron-only content, guest interviews, giveaways, and lots more. You can even give me a film to review, a 10th of the month top 10 category, a ranking, or a song to sing. And that video will be dedicated to you. Shalom, my friends.